Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. The much awaited Person of Interest, which was a 2011 TV series. And I say much awaited because many of you have been on me to present this series and decode it. And I was shocked. The very first episode, it's all about a data center that uses algorithms to determine crimes before they happen. Essentially pre-crime, just like in the movie Minority Report. And I believe that these data centers that is depicted in the TV series is Stargate AI. Now, how can I say that? Well, I can tell you this. There's probably a reason why I waited to decode this TV series. We have been talking all about artificial intelligence taking over, haven't we? And a lot of other people have too. Artificial intelligence governance is what the word has been. We got pretty specific on this channel before Trump announced Stargate AI. This is the Stargate AI program. And so it was no shock to those of us that already knew what was going to happen, that this was going to launch. And here is what Trump announced on January 21st, 2025 this year, 49 days ago, that they were going to invest hundreds of billions of dollars in what they are saying is on the scale of the Manhattan Project. This is huge. Now, since the announcement, it's been pushed to the back burner a bit because it got a lot of bad press. People are like, what is this secret program that you guys are on about? What is this going to be for our future? Will surveillance be wrapped up in this? Now, Larry Ellison got on stage, as you all know, and said that health would be wrapped up into Stargate AI and that he believed that they had found a cure to cancer using algorithms and artificial intelligence. We're not going to rehash this whole thing, but needless to say, this is very concerning. And what I'm going to show you today is even more concerning because it was all talked about in this TV series back in 2011. Person of Interest. Now, how can I definitively link this to Trump's Stargate AI? Listen carefully. How can I do this? Well, let's watch.
The numbers never stop coming. You should know that up front. You have a decision to make.
Now, of course, these two individuals, this is Jim Caviezel and this other guy who played in the Lost series. Let's rewind this so you can see him. And they're having their very first conversation about a peculiar machine that can basically detect a crime before it happens. Watch.
You have a decision to make.
The machine gave you another number.
And there is the data center. Now remember, back in 2011, there weren't many of these around yet. And nobody could imagine that one of these data centers could do what it does in this TV series, which is to track every single camera, mobile phone, and recording device in the entire world. Put it through an algorithm and determine where the next crimes would happen. But here we are at the cusp of Stargate AI, and this is totally believable and doable now, 14 years later.
That irrelevant list was eating away at me.
So here they are discussing the machine. And in the backdrop, you see Trump Tower and Trump Plaza Hotel. The cornerstones lined up together. Here's Google Earth, Trump Plaza Hotel, Trump Tower in the backdrop. Now, next to this is the Superman building just out of frame, the IBM building. And here it is in person of interest as they're walking along the causeway here. And again, the cornerstones of these buildings that Trump owns both of are lined up with the scene. Oh, Casey, that's just a pure coincidence. Well, there's another Trump building sighting in person of interest in the first two episodes. Remember, this was before he ever became president. Stargate AI confirmed. Let's keep watching.
Government facility somewhere. But the machine is everywhere. So where's the machine now? What, the drives? Who knows?
What did I tell you about sending emails?
For 3 weeks, you could practically...
So essentially the algorithm captures every situation. It looks at it, analyzes it, and determines with mathematic probability if it's something that requires their attention.
Put anything in an email you cannot own.
Watching us with 10,000 eyes. Listening with 1,000,000 ears. So I built myself a back door into it.
To access the irrelevant list.
Gave yourself a way to communicate with it. I was building the government a tool of unimaginable power.
Now, the cover story here, which I don't believe, of course, is that they built this machine to fight terrorism. And I don't even believe terrorism is real. I think it's always 99% of the time a tool so that they can gain more access and control through fear. We live in an age where they already have all the data. They already know who's in the country when it comes to a possible terrorist. So if you're going to surveil somebody, surveil a national from another country, right? Not American citizens. Surveil families from maybe Iran or something. If what they tell us is true, that there are terrorists from there, which again, I don't believe. But let's take them at their word, right? Let's think this through. Why would you need to surveil all Americans in order to achieve some kind of safety and security? You wouldn't need to, right? You wouldn't need to. And this is where the whole domestic terrorist thing came up. They had to develop something to instill fear because they realized that people are starting to wake up. But as we can see, most of these domestic people, they don't have any kind of capabilities, right? And even then, we have a system where if you purchase something that could be used to build something that could hurt a lot of people, that would be very quickly picked up. You don't need to surveil every single man, woman, and child in America. That's not how it works or should work. So the premise here is faulty, isn't it? It's a fallacy that this machine was developed to basically fight terrorism. So this guy basically takes part of the machine, and there's what they call an irrelevant list that the machine threw back at them of possible crimes and future deaths and things, but they weren't relevant enough to show up or be a concern outside of the main terrorist reason why it was developed. Let's keep watching here.
I thought maybe an off switch would come in handy. A machine that spies on you every hour of every day. You are being watched. The government has a secret system. Violent crimes involving ordinary people. People like you. Crimes the government considered irrelevant. I know because I built it. I designed the machine to detect acts of terror, but it sees everything.
Surveillance cameras in the country.
No, that's just New York.
Is this the government feeds? Direct from NSA at Fort Meade. That's every email, every phone call,
I'm almost ready to move on to the next problem.
What's the next problem?
Sorting them all out. I'm starting with the basics here. I'm trying to teach you to track people using cell phone location data, facial recognition. Terrorists don't exactly stand out on street corners, you know. You have to teach the machine to sift through the emails, wiretap phones, bank transactions.
So this is
Everyone. Looking for people that are hiding something, living double lives.
People like you, in other words.
Next, we are going to see another Trump building. This time, Trump World Tower, which is next to the UN Secretariat building. Watch.
We built it to stop terrorists before they could act, but a machine doesn't understand the difference. This thing looks for plotters, for schemers. It looks for malicious intent.
all what nobody else did on the property. This is a real game changer. Thank you, sir. The good people of Brooklyn deserve it, sir. Look forward to it, Jim.
There it is right there. Now, the irony of this, the irony of Trump World Tower, which we've covered at length already, haven't we, is that this building housed both Russians and Bill Gates rented in Trump's building. The other irony of this image that you see here is just behind here are the headquarters of many pharmaceutical companies. Now, we've covered this at length before, haven't we? Pfizer, Novartis, Bristol Myers Squibb are all right here behind the UN building. Here is the UN building here. More irony is that this building has 9 courses down here, 11 courses of windows here, and 10 courses of windows here. 9, 11, and 10. 9, 11, 01. Yet this building was constructed a long time before the Twin Towers. You can look all this up. None of this is made up. This is the truth, whether you want to believe it or not. What will you do with the truth? Well, you will realize that we're in a right-left paradigm. You will realize that all of these people that make it to the top are not real. They're there to garner your support, your allegiance, your vote, so that we, the people, are the ones continuing the charade, because we won't wake up. You can pull up the Secretariat building and count the windows for yourself. 9 courses. When I say courses, let's count this middle course. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's what I'm talking about. Let's keep watching here.
I gotta hand it to you. You really turned this thing around.
So, this is only the first 2 episodes. I will stay on the series. Let me check with you guys, and we're going to get into some other headlines today. Did you guys hear about Duterte getting picked up? Now, this is pretty big news, because Duterte, which was the president of the Philippines, was kind of hailed as Trump-like, wasn't he? Because of his hard stance on the drug war. He actually killed a bunch of people. Let's look at a little bit of this, see if this plays for us. He killed a bunch of drug dealers. That was his, and Trump's talking about doing the same thing, isn't he? Death penalty for drug dealers. And apparently Duterte killed tens of thousands of drug dealers and people doing drugs actually too as well. There basically is what the accusation is. They arrested him. Let's just read this. Former Philippines leader Rodrigo Duterte was sent to The Hague on Tuesday, hours after he was arrested in Manila at the request of the International Criminal Court. Now, we've heard of the International Criminal Court. We've heard, that they wanted to arrest people like George Bush. And even Trump, I think at one time, they had like some kind of warrant out for him or something from the International Criminal Court. But of course, no one ever got arrested. So this is pretty big that they actually arrested a former president, right? It kind of opens the door for what else could go wrong, right? Duterte, a maverick ex-mayor and former prosecutor who led the Philippines from 2016 to 2022, was arrested on Tuesday, marking the biggest step yet in the ICC's probe into alleged crimes against humanity during an anti-drugs crackdown that killed thousands and drew condemnation around the world. Duterte, 79, could become the first Asian former head of state to go on trial at the ICC. The plane is en route to The Hague in the Netherlands, allowing the former president to face charges of crimes against humanity in relation to his bloody war on drugs. Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. told a press conference he did not help the International Criminal Court in any way. The arrest was made in compliance with Interpol. The war on drugs was the signature campaign platform that swept to power the mercurial crime buster nicknamed the Punisher, who soon delivered on promises he made during vitriolic speeches that thousands of drug pushers would be killed. His detention follows years of him rebuking and taunting the ICC in profanity-laden speeches since he unilaterally withdrew the Philippines from the court's founding treaty in 2019. So this is pretty big news, isn't it? Duterte. Now, what else is going on? Now, this is weird. We all know that the left is imploding. We had several prominent personalities leave the country. Rosie O'Donnell left the country, went to, Ireland. And then, of course, what was the other one? Several of these actors have left the country. You know, it's crazy because against the backdrop of history, I just laugh when people freak out like this. You know, since the 1970s or so, it's pretty open country, hasn't it? And a lot of the problems that, you know, happened in America based on the past have improved significantly. I mean, even I have to admit that in terms of the historical record. And when I say improved, I don't mean improved in a good way. The moral degradation has happened because of the freedom that they give people to be morally degraded, right? So that hasn't gotten better, which is in line with what the Bible says. Things will go from, men will be evil and go from bad to worse. But for evil people, things have gotten way better, haven't they? So I laugh when these evil people leave the country because they're mad because they can't be evil anymore. But look at this. Some of these Democrats are imploding. Newsom becomes the most prominent Democrat to buck the party and echo majority public opinion on trans athletes. Now, this was unheard of before. This guy was so far left, it wasn't even funny. But now he's saying, oh, yeah, we shouldn't have trans athletes in sports. So he's bucking the party. Now, what end is this all to? I don't know. Maybe he has got a future, you know, maybe he wants to run for president one day and he's trying to come to the middle. This is why you can't get behind these people, because they're all over the place. They're all over the place. So this is what Newsom's up to, a complete 180. You know, and they mention in here too that he basically went against the public vote because people in California did not vote for gay marriage, did they? But yet he overrode their decision, and then the rest is history. And now we have gay marriage. But the debate started in California. I remember this specifically. Everybody was like happy because gay marriage did not win, but then a couple months later, they passed it anyway. So that was weird, going against the will of the people. Now, here's some more headline news. The European Union is launching CBDC by October. Let's read this. This is big news, you guys. It's here. Crypto. European Central Bank announces plan to launch CBDC by October 2025. And let's read this here. The announcement has immediately triggered significant reactions across cryptocurrency markets. Within the first few hours of the announcement, Bitcoin experienced a sharp price increase from 65 to 67, representing a 3.85% rise. So this is the future. Digital currency is now well established. Canada is making threats to the northeast of the United States, for which they currently supply power, but it might not be for long. They're saying they will shut off the electricity completely for the United States if this trade war escalates. Let's read this. President Trump may have delayed most, though not all, of the tariffs he has imposed on Canada and Mexico, but that hasn't stopped America's northern neighbors from responding forcefully in retaliation. Ontario Premier Doug Ford said at a press conference that he would move forward with a 25% surcharge on electricity exports to 3 U.S. states starting Monday, warning that he will turn off access if the U.S. adds new tariffs on Canadian goods. Wow, he will not hesitate to shut off the electricity completely. Believe me when I say I do not want to do this. I feel terrible for the American people, because it's not the American people who started this trade war. So, if we were to take this person at their word, who suffers? The American people. Now, Trump is hedging and essentially saying, you know what, things might get a little bit worse before we rebuild America. But are we to take him at his word? All I know is we are the ones down in the trenches, aren't we? We are the ones that have to suffer through these changes. Remember last year, I told you guys in December when these talks of tariffs were already going on, and I said, look, things are going to go up. You need to probably get what you need to get. And I said, in this instance, you might want to take advantage of some of these Christmas sales. Normally, I would never tell you to do that. But if there are real items that you need next year, they might cost twice as much. And of course, very few people believed me, but now here we are 3 or 4 months later, and exactly what I said was going to happen is happening. So things are going to get worse for me and you. It doesn't get worse for the millionaires and billionaires. They want you to believe it's getting worse. Hence the tears, the crocodile tears of Trudeau, and now Elon Musk breaking down in tears because of his Tesla stock. Let's take a look. This is insane. What's up with these crocodile tears? Well, Elon Musk looks like he's trying not to cry when asked about Tesla. His stock, of course, took a hit, but I don't believe all this is real. Unelected White House advisor Elon Musk has seemingly been spending the vast majority of his time ransacking the federal government and excising what he claims to be waste and fraud with the help of so-called Department of Government Efficiency. Turning his back on his businesses has come at a steep cost. His EV maker Tesla in particular has felt the hurt this week, nosediving 15%. It's not just a blip either. Wall Street has grown concerned about the car maker's abysmal sales figures, which are in free fall in many parts of the globe. And of course, they note all of the reasons why they think that happened. He says here, you're giving up your other stuff? ? I mean, how are you running your other businesses? This guy asked him. And Musk responds with great difficulty, followed by a long pause and sigh. His voice wavered briefly before collecting himself. I'm just here trying to make government more efficient, eliminate waste and fraud. And so far, we're making good progress, he claimed. So, what is the future of Tesla? Well, again, these people aren't hurting. He's got so much money. He doesn't care if he's, in all honesty, these people don't have to worry about if they're going to have money to buy good quality toilet paper. They don't care, that if they're going to have food to eat. They don't care about food prices. They don't care about gas prices. These things don't affect these people. They affect people like you and me. And how much pain are we going to have to feel? How much pain are we going to have to feel before things get better, according to them? Well, I don't know the answer to that, but people are willing to accept the pain. It makes absolutely no sense to me. With all the money these people have, they could easily just bump up everybody's pay for a while until things do get better. Why won't they do that? Right? Why doesn't Trump come onto the podium and say, look, I understand there's going to be some pain. So what we're going to do to compensate for that, since we're a very rich country, is we're going to start paying everybody a lot more money. Not permanently, but until things get better. Right? I mean, look at all these billionaires. They completely and totally have the money to do this, but they won't do it. Instead, you and I have to feel the pain for an undetermined amount of time that they won't even tell us when the end of this is going to be. And so here we are, you guys. Here we are. Now, what else is going on? Not a lot has changed, you guys. In fact, it's gotten worse. Remember I told you that we were going to keep sending money to the Ukraine, that nothing was going to change? Well, here we are. U.S. resumes military aid and intelligence sharing as Ukraine says it is open to a 30-day ceasefire. So the money just keeps going, doesn't it? As Trump lifts this suspension of military aid and intelligence sharing for Ukraine. So it appears to me that all that whole White House thing with Zelensky was just a big show. It was just a show and drama to make you think that we were going to pull the funding from Ukraine. They probably never even really pulled the funding for the time that they said they did. It was probably just pretend. And here we are, tax dollars going to Ukraine just like it did under Biden. There's probably even more being sent than before. There is no deal with Russia that Trump said we were going to have. There was no 24 hours to end the world war. There was no cutting off the funds. So what's changed? Oh, okay, so you just got to believe in Trump. At least Biden's not running it. Okay. Wow. Now, the media has a new tactic because, of course, they want us all to believe that they've been beaten, right? That they've been beaten. Trump has won. Trump is victorious. So their new tactic is, and it's actually kind of funny, it's gaslighting. They're gaslighting Trump now with innuendo. J.D. Vance breaks the silence on his cousin who flamed him over the Zelensky meeting. And of course, they show Vance. Vance is getting flamed. The irony, right? J.D. Vance has broken his silence after an ex-Marine cousin, Nate Vance, issued a blistering criticism of the vice president's treatment of Ukrainian President Zelensky at an Oval Office meeting earlier this month. I love my cousin. Nate never spoke publicly about his service in Ukraine because I didn't want to endanger his life more than it already was. Vice President said in a statement obtained by the Daily Beast, nodding to his cousin's 3 years volunteering in Ukraine on the front lines of its war against Russia. So, flaming is going on. Now, did you guys hear about this documentary? The Age of Disclosure. I might need to take a look at this. Talking about evidence of aliens and UFOs with broad bipartisan support. We now live in an age where mainstream media is acknowledging UFOs. We all know what the UFOs are, but most people do not. They believe that this is, these are extraterrestrials from other worlds, and they're here to help us. Some think they're here to kill us, but nobody really wants to admit the biblical perspective, which is that all these are demonic entities and fallen angels. So there's now pressure. They want you to believe that there's pressure on the government to disclose all this stuff. And here we are. We still don't have Epstein's list. We still don't really know what happened to JFK. We still, nothing has changed. Unless I'm mistaken. Has anything changed? All right, I'm back in the chat, you guys. Those are the headlines and person of interest that I wanted to show you. we can hang out for a little while. It was kind of a quick show. And I'll be back on Person of Interest. I think I'm on episode 4. And I will probably do a show tomorrow on that or day after tomorrow. Some days, right? Some days. The guy who plays Vance on SNL is hilarious. Did they put eyeliner on him? I haven't watched that. Well, that would be pretty funny. Stating Vance flame is a key in alchemy. Good morning. Good morning, Cheryl. Thanks, Eric. Nothing changes. The rich are just richer. Yeah, the only thing that's changed is the rich have gotten richer. We have oligarchs now running the country. All of our food costs more. All of our stuff costs more. And still people are like, give him some time. Everything's going to get better. Trump even said, oh, with inflation, things never go down. We can just stabilize it. That was his own words. The prices will never go down, unfortunately, but we can stop it from happening. So if we're to take him at his word, things aren't going to get better. And I'm not trying to be a pessimist. I'm trying to tell you the truth so you can wake up to all this stuff and stop feeding your positive energy toward thinking it's going to get better because Trump's in office. I think the only thing that we can say is that illegal immigration has been stopped. That's one thing that I can say that Trump has done that other people did not do. Okay. That was kind of the carrot that he threw to the American people, that they've stopped illegal immigration and they're getting rid of the most violent illegals. So that's a good thing because that was bothering a lot of people. Now, those of you that are on the border, if there's anyone that's on the border, southern border, you can chime in about what your experience is if you're seeing this in real time. Are you seeing, the military and stuff rolling into town, securing the border? What does the border look like for those of you that live down near the border? Are you seeing less, illegals walking around the streets in these border towns? I mean, because I don't know if this is real. All I know is what I read on the news, right? It's completely possible that that's not even really happening, but it probably is. Yeah, still chemtrails, all that stuff's still happening. Night drones, it's gotten worse. They just tell us it's gotten better. Now the whole world hates us even more than they did before. The 4 counties that surround Washington, D.C. are the richest counties in the United States. Says a lot. It has been stopped. All optics more acting. Oh, it has not been stopped, says Brian. All optics. Hard times make strong men. This is why Trump is doing this, says Professor. Oh, that's pretty funny. All right. Thanks, Christy. Not much on border, state, and cartel living, unhappy, but it's till my 45-year investigation comes to God's vengeance. I don't believe the hype. Trump, we have people that are desperately seeking answers for missing children cases and are writing you letters specifically. Are you aware of this, Mr. Trump? Thanks for that comment. Okay. We do not keep track of Old Testament feasts that Jesus trumped, says Brian. None of the higher ups mentioned chemtrails. None of them. I can tell you this. So, I've got some seeds in the ground now. Hopefully there won't be another frost. I'm trying to get these seeds to germinate. You used to be able to just throw seeds out on the ground and they would just start growing, right? I know it's a little bit early in the season, but I don't remember having to worry about, what to water plants with. Not taking water out of the municipal water supply. I never had to worry about, the sun burning plants We live in an age where everything seems to want to kill everything, right? Our food is killing us. The sun is killing our plants. Water, you can't even take water out of the public water to water plants anymore. That's insane, you guys. That's insane. All right. Christy says we had a medical helicopter crash, killing 3 in Madison, Mississippi. Oh my goodness. Yeah, the seeds aren't working. Nothing's germinating. Yep, tap water is killing the plants. Big storm coming this weekend. All right, you guys, I'm going to get back on this person of interest. Hopefully have a show for you tomorrow. If not, I'll do like a re-upload, something relevant to what's happening now. And I will see you all in the morning. Thanks for showing up. Much love, everybody. Take care.